Welcome to The Explainer. We all really like to believe we're these highly rational creatures, right? Like we're in total control of our money, our health, our careers. Well, today we're diving into Dan Ariely's absolute classic, Predictably Irrational, to prove that your brain is actually wired to make systematic mistakes. It's going to be a mind-bending journey, so let's get into it.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever bought something you didn't even need just because it was marked down from some absurdly high price? Or, I don't know, maybe you stood in a ridiculous line for a free item that you would never actually pay real money for? If you're nodding your head yes, don't worry, you are definitely not alone. And more importantly, you're not just making random mistakes here. As behavioral economist Dan Ariely points out, our irrational behaviors are neither random nor senseless. They are systematic, and they are totally predictable. By understanding the hidden psychological wiring of our brains, you can actually start making far smarter decisions. You can finally avoid those common traps set by marketers, by businesses, and, most importantly, by your own mind.
Section 1. The Illusion of Logic, focusing on relativity and decoys.
So the thing is, human beings rarely evaluate things in absolute terms. We don't have this magical internal meter telling us what things are intrinsically worth. Instead, we rely heavily on relativity. We compare things right next to each other. Take this famous subscription offer Ariely tested for an iconic magazine. The publisher gave three choices: a digital subscription for $59, a print subscription for $125, and a combo print and digital subscription for the exact same price of $125. Seriously, ask yourself, why would anyone ever choose to pay $125 for print alone when they could get print and digital for the exact same price? It just seems completely useless, doesn't it?
Now, what's really interesting about this is how people actually reacted to those choices. When tested, the vast majority grabbed the combo deal, a small handful picked the digital deal, and, as you'd probably guess, exactly 0 people picked the print-only option. But here is the crazy twist. When Ariely removed that supposedly useless print-only option, the results flipped entirely. Without it there, most people just chose the cheaper $59 digital option. So that print-only option, it was never actually meant to be sold. It was a decoy, plain and simple. Its sole purpose was to make the combo deal look like an absolutely irresistible bargain by comparison.
All right, Section 2. The Trap of Free Stuff.
Literally nothing short-circuits our basic logic quite like the word free. The moment an item drops to 0 cost, our emotional brain completely takes over. Ariely proved this with a brilliant chocolate experiment. He offered people a choice: a high-end Lindt truffle for 15 cents or a standard Hershey Kiss for just 1 cent. Logically, most people chose the Lindt truffle because at 15 cents, that is a massive discount and just a way better deal. But then, Ariely dropped the price of both chocolates by a single penny. So the Lindt became 14 cents and the Hershey Kiss became free. The mathematical difference remained exactly the same, 13 cents, yet the choices completely flipped. Overwhelmingly, people abandoned the luxury truffle and went straight for the free Hershey Kiss.
So why does 0 make us completely lose our minds? Well, it's because in our brains, most transactions carry both a potential benefit and a risk of regret. But when something is free, we perceive absolutely 0 risk of loss. It's safe. The psychological pull of 0 is so incredibly powerful that it forces us to make foolish trade-offs. Think about it. Have you ever bought things you didn't need just to reach that threshold for free shipping? Yeah, me too. We are literally spending extra money just to feel the thrill of 0.
Moving on to Section 3. When worlds collide, social rules versus market rules. You see, we all live by 2 entirely separate rule books. On one side, we have warm social norms, things like community, family, mutual assistance. On the other side, we have cold market norms, prices, contracts, getting paid. Mixing them? Oh, that causes serious trouble. Just imagine you're enjoying a delicious Thanksgiving dinner cooked by your mother-in-law. You finish the meal, wipe your mouth, pull out your wallet, and hand her a crisp $50 bill to show your appreciation. I think it's safe to say that warm social connection is instantly, permanently ruined. You just introduced a sharp transactional market norm into a sacred social space. And businesses actually do this all the time. They try to treat you like family, but the second they hit you with a hidden fee, that social contract breaks down completely, and it's almost impossible to restore.
Okay, Section 4. Emotions and Distorted Realities.
Take a second to ask yourself, how rational are you, really, when you're experiencing strong emotions like excitement, hunger, or arousal? In a fascinating and honestly somewhat alarming study, young men were asked questions about ethical behavior, sexual choices, and safety. When they answered in a calm, neutral state, they expressed a really strong commitment to safety and ethics. But when asked the exact same questions while in an aroused state, their predictions about their own behavior altered drastically. Suddenly, they were far more willing to engage in risky, unethical, or totally reckless choices.
And this brings us to a really vital concept to understand: the hot-cold empathy gap. This is basically our consistent inability to anticipate just how much our emotions will end up overriding our logic. See, in our cold, calm states, we naturally assume we're the ones in the driver's seat. We think we're in control. But when emotional heat takes over, our rational, highly evolved brain is just easily hijacked by our most primitive drives.
Section 5. Procrastination and endless choices. The struggle is definitely real with this one.
We all know the feeling. We consistently abandon our most ambitious plans the second immediate temptations arrive. Ariely actually tested how to fix this lack of self-control with his university students, and the results were incredible. One class had absolute freedom to choose when to hand in their papers, and guess what? They got the lowest grades. Another class had strict, evenly spaced deadlines imposed by the professor, and they got the highest grades. The middle group, which self-imposed their own binding deadlines, well, they fell right in between. So this visually proves that if you want to beat procrastination, strict, enforced rules absolutely crush absolute freedom. We literally have to pre-commit to force our future selves to stay on track.
Now, another way our logic totally fails us is through something called the Endowment Effect. This is our weird tendency to overvalue an object or an idea simply because we already own it. Ariely proved this by looking at Duke University's hugely popular basketball ticket lottery. Students who lost the lottery were willing to pay around $170 to buy a ticket, but the students who actually won a ticket, they refused to sell it for anything less than $2,400. This simple act of ownership completely transformed the ticket's subjective value overnight. It's wild.
And because we overvalue what we have, we are absolutely terrified of losing options. In our modern world, we're blessed with endless choices, right? But our fear of missing out drives us to try and keep every single option open. In one computer game experiment, participants had to click on doors to earn money. But if a door was ignored, it began to shrink and disappear. The participants became frantic. They wasted enormous energy and money just clicking on shrinking doors to keep them alive, even when those secondary doors yielded way less money than their main option.
Section 6. The magic of expectations and the truth about dishonesty.
What you expect to experience literally constructs your reality. For example, a $2 fake sugar pill actually relieves more pain than a 10-cent fake pill. Or, if you add balsamic vinegar to beer, it tastes complex and interesting, right up until someone warns you it's vinegar. These same expectations govern how we view ourselves, which brings us to dishonesty. Traditional economics says criminals rationally weigh the risks and rewards of cheating, but Ariely discovered that almost everyone cheats, just a little bit. We cheat up to the exact threshold where we can still look in the mirror and feel like an honest person. But here's the kicker. If you introduce a buffer between a person and raw cash, like stealing tokens instead of $100 bills, cheating instantly doubles. That token buffer lets us rationalize the theft and protect our honest self-image. Which brings us to our final section, number 7, how to outsmart yourself.
Okay, so we're easily manipulated by decoys, we're obsessed with free stuff, we're controlled by our emotions, and we are highly prone to procrastination. But the good news? You can actively defend against these predictable mental traps. So the crucial point is to remember these 5 things. First, beware of decoys. Always ask yourself if you truly want an item, or if it just looks good next to a terrible option. Second, question free. Remember the hidden costs of your time and effort. Third, protect your social norms. Keep cold, hard cash out of your warm relationships. Fourth, use pre-commitments. Set strict deadlines to save your future self from procrastination. And fifth, close unnecessary doors. Stop wasting energy keeping useless secondary options alive and just focus on what truly matters.
We may not be as perfectly logical as we'd like to imagine, but we absolutely do not have to remain victims to our own cognitive blind spots. By understanding the predictable patterns of human irrationality, you can design a far smarter, much more intentional life. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought. Now that you know your brain's hidden blind spots, what irrational choice will you stop making today?